If you're driving on the highway, chances are you're going 5, 10, maybe even 15 over the speed limit. But anything past that, and you hesitate, is it because you're afraid of getting into an accident, or is it because you don't want a speeding ticket? Do we follow the law because it's the morally correct thing to do, or because we want to avoid punishment? Here's another example to test the idea. Do people pay taxes out of a deep sense of civic duty or moral obligation? Or do they do it because they're afraid of getting audited or fined by the government? If there are no consequences, how many people do you think would still pay their taxes properly? Just like speeding, it's not necessarily the morality that holds us back. It's the fear of getting caught. Humans by nature are opportunistic. Most things we do are out of fear. Fear of punishment, fear of loss, fear of looking bad. And we're also wired to look for loopholes. If there's a way to bend the rules without technically breaking them, we'll take it. Just think about how common it is to claim a refund for something you used but say it didn't work. Or using fake emails to keep getting free trials. And maybe even upspelling vulnerable people on things they don't need just to boost your own profit. None of these things are necessarily illegal, but are they right? That's where morality comes in. Laws can only punish actions, but morality, that challenges intentions. But here's the thing, morality isn't enforced. There's no ticket for lying, no fine for being greedy, no audit for manipulating someone. And that's why societies have always needed something beyond law, something that calls people to do the right thing, even when no one's watching. For many, that's where God comes in. But do we need God or religion to be moral? Can't people be good by nature? Sure, some people are raised with strong moral values, allowing them to be honest, kind, and just. But here's the real question. When no one's watching, and there are no consequences, what truly holds someone back from doing wrong? Like we mentioned earlier, people usually act out of fear. If there's no one to audit, no one to punish, why would we stop ourselves? What would stop a person from lying, cutting corners, or exploring someone, especially if they can benefit from it? Theists believe that for morality to be truly objective, meaning right and wrong stay the same no matter what people think, it needs to come from something higher than a human opinions or culture. They say God, who is perfect and unchanging, is the one who gives us that solid foundation. For example, murder is wrong, not just because society says so, but because it violates God's moral law. Belief in God also means ultimate accountability. Even if someone escapes justice in this life, the belief that they'll be held accountable in the afterlife can strongly motivate moral behavior. Remember how fear is one of the main reasons how a person acts a certain way? Belief in all-seeing, all-knowing God, who records every action and intention, can serve as a powerful deterrent against wrongdoing. But fear isn't the only motivator. Humans are also wired to respond to reward. When we do something good and someone acknowledges it, we feel encouraged to keep doing it. Theists believe that when a person does good, especially when they don't have to, they'll be rewarded, not just in this life, but in the next. The promise of paradise, the reward of eternal peace. So even when doing the right thing is hard, even when it comes at a personal loss, a religious person may still choose morality because they believe God sees it all, that no good deed goes unnoticed. Now, this doesn't mean religious people are always morally perfect, but studies show that belief in a God who holds people accountable, both in reward and punishment, can shape behavior in a big way. In one study published in Science, researchers found that when people were reminded of a God who punishes rather than just forgiving or neutral one, they were significantly less likely to act dishonestly. It wasn't the abstract idea of God that influenced behavior. It was the belief that wrongdoing comes with consequences, even if no one else sees it. And in a global study published in Nature Human Behavior, people who believed in divine punishment were more likely to treat others fairly, even those outside their own group. So while religion doesn't guarantee moral behavior, the belief in an all-seeing, all-knowing God, one who rewards good and punishes evil, adds a layer of accountability that often goes beyond what the law or society can enforce. On the other hand, we have secular morality. When we talk about secular morality, many people believe that morality comes from human reason, not religion. Secular thinkers often argue that morality can be based on reason and empathy. We can recognize that harming others causes suffering, and based on that, we create moral systems focused on human well-being, empathy, fairness, and cooperation. A good example of this is the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. This rule shows up in various cultures and traditions. Whether religious or not, it's a basic moral framework that encourages people to put themselves in others' shoes. Another argument for secular morality is rooted in evolutionary biology and psychology. Cooperation, altruism, and fairness helped our ancestors survive and thrive. As a result, these moral instincts may be natural, wired into our psychology. In this view, society's moral values evolve based on what benefits the group, and if something causes harm, it's considered wrong. But secular morality has its limits. So far, secular morality looks reasonable, right? After all, most people can agree that harming others is wrong, whether they believe in God or not. But here's the catch. Laws can change, norms shift, personal values vary. Laws are based on society's values, and they can change over time. Norms and social attitudes shift. What was once acceptable, like slavery, might become morally repugnant. And personal values, they vary widely from person to person. What happens when your morality contradicts mine, and there's no higher authority to appeal to? In a secular society, we may be left to argue about preferences. There's no clear objective, moral standard, just a bunch of opinions. The most common example of this could be same-sex marriage. In many countries, debates about same-sex marriage have sparked heated discussions. Some people argue it's a basic human right, while others believe it goes against traditional values or religious teachings. Now, if there's no objective moral standard to decide who's right, what are we left to rely on? And when we disagree, who decides? Is it the majority, the government, or just the loudest voice? This is when the middle ground comes into play. Some people argue that you don't need to believe in God to know the difference between right and wrong. People can act morally without a higher power. But here's the problem. Without God, it's hard to explain why something is right or wrong in an absolute sense. Without a higher authority, moral values can start to feel more like preferences, similar to choosing your favorite ice cream flavor. What's right could just be what we prefer or what's popular at the moment. In this view, God gives us a solid foundation for knowing what's truly right or wrong, regardless of opinions or trends. Without that foundation, moral decisions can feel like personal opinions that change based on what society thinks at the time. This distinction is key. Secular morality says morality is a human construct based on reason, empathy, and social evolution. Religious morality says morality is grounded in an objective standard and is enforced by a higher power. So when society's values change, and when laws can't guide us, what's keeping us on track? What's anchoring your senses of right and wrong? And if you believe in being good, what's your reason? What stops you when no one's watching?